What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Schrishzen Thoughts, where I talk about stuff and things. And today we are going to be talking about reacting from emotions. So, for starters, shout out to my subscribers, shout out to anybody new coming across this channel. Comments and feedback are always welcome. And if you like what you hear, feel free to subscribe. If you do subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon. That way you get notifications of when I do post new videos. So, I had just Conversations with Dean podcast just released on Black of the Berry. I was on their podcast a couple of weeks ago, and then one of the hosts, Dean, does his own episodes also, and I just had a conversation with him. At the end of it, we did get into the Breonna Taylor thing, and I had said that this was a situation where I think that a lot of people were acting on emotion and not exactly, they weren't acting on fact, and their thought process in relation to Breonna Taylor's case is not really fact-based, but more emotion-based. I was one who, at the beginning, was on the arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor. The whole song, posting it every day, like, yo, let's not let them forget that this is still a thing, that those people are still out there. The people who took this woman's life are still out chilling because of the way that the system is set up. So I did learn in her situation to not knee-jerk react to the first headlines that we saw. So when they were like, girl shot and killed in her bed, I was like, kind of don't buy it. I'm guessing there's more to the story, so I'm going to wait for more to come out. And then as time went on and more information did come out, I moved. I was in that position of still, like, arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor for the longest time. And then facts of the matter related to her knowledge of what was going on, learned about those, which kind of shifted me off a bit. And then once I learned that dude shot first and they were returning fire, I was like, they're not going to get charged for anything. None of the charges that you could try and pin on them would stick, unless you went the route of saying that they didn't really get into the house in the way that they said that they did. But at the end, based off the facts of the situation, the cop that took her life was one of the cops that were inside the building, that were inside the apartment that got shot at. So when you're returning fire, that's what's going to come along with it. People were pissed off saying that the walls got more justice because the neighbor that was next door. So yeah, people were tight that the neighbor next door got justice because of the fact that one of the shots hit the wall, and they said that they endangered people. Whatever the logic is, the cop that shot and hit the wall and endangered the neighbors shot from outside of the apartment. So he was one that was not at a vantage point to even actively engage in the shooting that did take place, because he was not in a position to accurately address the situation. He's outside of the building. So if you're outside of the building, shooting into it, you are really wildly shooting. So people, I think, assumed that the cop that took her life was in that position when they weren't. They were the one, he was one of the ones that were inside. And since it came from returning fire, you can't punish somebody for that. You can, as much as it sucks that her life was taken, all you can do is pay out the family, at least in my opinion. Based off the facts of the matter, the most you can do is say, she shouldn't have died, here's some money for it. We cannot lock the person up who was not wrong in what they did. That's where thinking emotionally, like I think a lot of people do, who are still out like, she didn't get justice, you're emotionally thinking. You wouldn't want them to charge somebody who didn't actually do something with a crime that they didn't commit. You wouldn't want this to happen to somebody who was black or innocent in general. So if the cop is returning fire and it hits somebody who wasn't somebody that they were out to get, wasn't a bad person, whatever the case may be, you're returning fire. You cannot charge them for returning fire. You could charge them if they busted and opened fire on their own, but they didn't do that. They were returning fire. So the second they're returning fire, you can't charge them for stuff. You can't charge them in the same way that you would somebody who wouldn't reasonably act like they did. They weren't negligent. You could maybe say that their tactics were sus. The whole knocking thing and announcing, you could say that that situation was sus, but they busted in, got shot at, and returned fire. One of the people who were inside and returned fire are one of the ones who ended up taking Breonna's life. So you cannot charge that person. The person who was really wrongfully shooting got charged for wrongfully shooting. However, it wasn't related to her death. So this is one of those that you got to eat it based off the facts of the matter. It sucks. But to me, justice was served in the way that it could be. And I think it does take stepping back and letting your emotions settle and saying, let me put my emotions aside and look at the facts of the matter, and how would I judge this as looking at it from a reasonable cop's perspective, or the perspective of would a reasonable person react in the same way. If you are executing a warrant, you bust into a house, shots are fired at you, would you reasonably return fire? From my understanding of how that idea works, yes. I can't say that the cop's not going to return fire. They get shot at. They're not just going to be like, hold up, let me see where the shot came from first before I do anything. So leaving emotions tied in, you're going to be tight that cops aren't arrested because of her life being taken. But looking at the facts of the matter, there's nothing to arrest them on. She shouldn't have died. So what do? You pay out the family. That's all you really can do. You can't lock anybody up for it. But, again, this does take setting emotions to the side. Wanting vengeance because of the fact that somebody was wrongfully killed, I understand. Your vengeance, even in the sense of just put them in jail, I understand. I don't think that's going to fix anything. Not necessarily. But you can't do it at the end of the day. Hope you have a good one.
I'm gonna be a person to be a person like the supermarket.
You're gonna sell them the food? You gotta get your bell and say, we're selling food, we're selling food.
Okay. Well, the girls cannot tie this for me.
Peace.